the first time in my life I have an actual dad to teach me things.
This is a pic.
I'm starting to learn his personality and get a sense of who he is as a person. He always just wants my happiness, and that's what I've learned.
Hi, welcome to the Anti-Alienation Project. My name is Maddie, and here on my project, I talk about all things related to a certain type of severe child psychological abuse that I went through for 20 years, known as parental alienation. If you haven't heard what parental alienation is, well, basically this happens often during a custody dispute or a divorce, but not always. It often involves a really angry, hurt parent who goes on an obsessive rampage to manipulate their child into rejecting their other loving parent without true justification. This happened to me, and by the age 9, when my parents divorced, I had been made to believe tons of terrible lies about my dad, like that he's bad, that he's a narcissist, that he doesn't love me, that he doesn't care about me. I never once stayed the night at his house. 2 years ago, I learned the truth from a YouTube video, believe it or not, that I had been going through this psychological abuse for 20 years, and that my mom made me believe lies, false accusations, horror stories, that she instilled fear and anger in me and stole 20 years that I could have had a loving relationship with my dad. Now I'm on a journey to speak out against this abuse while also repairing my relationship with my dad and forming a group of child survivors of parental alienation, because we need to change things for the next generation of children to come. I've been following the case of Gypsy Rose, as I know many people are these days, and a lot of people have a lot of opinions on her. I've made one other video about her because not only was she a victim of Munchausen by proxy syndrome by the hands of her mother, but she was also severely alienated from her dad the entire time. I was watching it last night, Gypsy's show on Lifetime, and I was watching episode 6, and I started to just get so emotional, and not in a bad way, but a really good way, because Gypsy is going through this process of being able to spend time with her dad for what really seems like the very first time without someone controlling her, in real life and not behind bars. It was like I was watching similarities from my experience reconnecting with my dad. And I thought it would just be cool to show you guys clips of the show that I saw last night and kind of break it down and explain from my point of view, because reconnecting with a parent that you've been made to believe is a horrible person and that you rejected without true justification, although you were manipulated to do so, it is such a confusing process, filled with so many emotions. And it was like I was watching Gypsy on the screen live out my own reality, especially at first, upon realizing the first year, I would say. And I'm not even sure if Gypsy Rose or her dad know the term parental alienation. And that's the thing about this psychological abuse. It's very common. Everybody knows somebody, but not many people know the term parental alienation, or they don't know how devastating it is for a child, how devastating it is for a parent, a whole family. They don't know the long-lasting destructive effects that will play out in a child's life. But let's get into Gypsy and her dad on Lifetime. The first thing we see in this episode, Gypsy's dad is talking to his wife, Gypsy's stepmom, Christy, and he's telling her that he wants to spend more time with Gypsy, but he feels too uncomfortable basically to tell Gypsy that. When I heard that, I realized this is characterization of a targeted parent, feeling like they don't want to push their kid away, unsure of how to interact. And coming from the child's point of view, I mean, I felt the same way. There is an uncomfortability because you haven't been interacting, you haven't been allowed to love them in so long. As we go through these clips, you're definitely going to see that aspect, the awkward, uncomfortable, I don't want to say the wrong thing, I don't want to push you away, I want to rebuild our relationship. This plays out, and you'll see that the whole time through this episode.
I haven't had a chance to spend some time with Gypsy, just me and her.
I know.
But I don't know how to fit that in with, she's real busy.
I mean, look.
Trying to find a time when we could just kind of me and her.
Well, you need to tell her, babe. You need to have a conversation with Gypsy. Say it.
I said, babe. I don't know. I just feel a little jealous. That's all.
I get that.
Of Ryan, of you, of all the media, just all the things she's got going on. I just feel like we haven't had a chance. And I haven't told her that. So I don't want to tell her that.
You have to tell her.
But I don't know. I feel guilty for feeling that way.
You should not feel guilty, Rob, because you were robbed.
Because it's just.
Here she says you were robbed. They know what has been done. They know that Gypsy's mom completely destroyed the relationship and was controlling of Gypsy. They know it. I just don't know if they know the term or any of the research or anything.
So crazy since she's gotten out. We haven't really had that.
Yeah.
I
got tears in my eyes because I'm hurt. I feel bad for you.
It's okay.
I told Ryan, you've been waiting for her for 2 years. We've been waiting 8+.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm being selfish about it.
You
we
have
might be
every
being
right to
selfish
be
about
selfish.
it, but like I feel like I'm worried about my happiness and not hers. The last thing I want is to push too hard and she draws away.
That's what I'm talking about. I think that that's so common for parents. When you're in the process of trying to rebuild your relationship, I think that's the child has similar anxieties. I do, at least. I have similar anxieties, maybe not that exact one, but very similar. It's sad because in a typical father-daughter relationship, if you want to spend time with your daughter, I think that most dads would just ask to spend time with their daughter or tell their daughter they want to start doing things more one-on-one. But because this relationship has been so disrupted, artificially disrupted, by the way, because it seems like Gypsy and Rod were fine before her mom made Gypsy believe all these bad things about about him, and he was cut out of her life. And it makes a lot of sense to me why he's hesitant to go to her. I think that the stepmom is giving him some pretty good advice, though, that he needs to talk to her. The only way to work through this is you just got to confront all of it. You got to be open and honest. Keep that line of communication really open. That's what's worked for me and my dad. That's what's worked for me and my dad anyway. So Gypsy's going to spend time with her dad for the weekend, and I think he has a job on a boat. And they live in Louisiana. I love his accent. It's like a Cajun accent, but so they're going to spend time together one-on-one. For anyone who's been through this specific severe form of child abuse and domestic abuse by proxy, you know that when you spend time together in this process can be really uncomfortable. It's not even because you don't want to be spending time together. It's not that at all. When you're both trying to rebuild your relationship, it's not that at all. But it's just all of these anxieties that you really have to work through. And it does take time to just get naturally comfortable in each other's presence. Here's why I think. This is just my ideas on it. From the child's point of view, if you've been told something negative about your parent for so long, like I don't know how long Gypsy was alienated, but I think it was probably over 5 years. It's probably a long time. And for me, for example, it's 20 years. So, and some of my friends, like 40 years plus. It's so sad. The average, by the research I've read, it has 20 years is the average, actually. So that's weird that mine was exactly 20 years. But I digress. You've been made to believe all these bad things about your other parent. And over a course of time, this leads to you having a physical reaction in their presence. I've talked about this before, but whenever I was with my dad or near my dad, my heart rate would increase. I might get sweaty. I might forget to breathe. I really had that fight or flight anxiety response. And so that's taken 2 years to fully go away, to be able to hug my dad and be with my dad one-on-one and to not be feeling the physical symptoms of anxiety that were never there, by the way, before the alienation. I was daddy's little girl for the first 7 years of my life. I mean, he was my best friend. And so the fact that you can take a child and do this to them and make them fear their other parents so much without any justification that would warrant that, it's scary how much you can make a child believe. It really is similar to a phobia. You have an irrational fear of something, and while you're alienated, of course, you believe it's rational, but then you learn the truth and you still have a physical response around that parent. And so it's like your body needs to learn that you don't need to be afraid anymore. And there's a type of therapy called EMDR that's really helped me with that. But also, I just think it takes a time to push through that. And you do have to push through it. And the way that you cure phobias is to do exposure therapy. So little by little, you in a therapeutic environment usually, but you would start to expose yourself to that thing that you're terrified of. Okay, in this scene, Christy is telling Gypsy whether she should be doing this or not. That's another story, but she's doing this. She's telling Gypsy how her dad feels, the information that her dad had relayed in the past clip. Her stepmom is now telling Gypsy about it. I really don't think this is how it should have gone down. I wish that her dad had talked directly to Gypsy. This is what I see in the show, and I'm just going to point it out real quick, is that Christy, the stepmom, seems to be interfering in everyone's relationships. Anyway, so here's a clip with her stepmom.
You want to go swimming?
Pixie does.
No, Rory, you're not going swimming. Me and I were sitting down and we were talking. And he said, when's my time? With Gypsy. He wants that one-on-one without Ryan. He's hurt. He said he's jealous. Dad doesn't want to really tell you. And I'm like, you need to tell her.
I mean, he can tell me anything.
He knows that the way you were raised was all under a controlling thumb.
Right.
And he doesn't ever want you to think that he is controlling you.
I would never feel that way about him. I mean, if he just told me
Exactly
how he feels, I could implement that into things. My dad has never said anything to me to make me think that he was jealous of the people around me getting to spend time with me. So it does kind of shock me a little bit. And even more so that he doesn't feel, I'm not gonna say not comfortable, but he has fears of letting me know these things.
I think he just feels like he doesn't want to be her.
And he's not.
And
and he never will be.
The way she's responding seems really healthy to me, actually. That's how I would respond, in a similar way. And my dad also makes a point not to control me or criticize me or treat me. I don't think he would do that in the first place, but her dad seems like a really good guy.
And that's what he's scared about.
But he's still my dad, and he needs to learn how to be a dad.
That was a little harsh. So here's the clip with her and her dad.
I think that there is that wall of guilt between me and my dad, that we both have been putting bricks on it and adding to it.
Wow, that wall of guilt. Yeah, wow. Good metaphor, Gypsy.
I think instead of keep on piling on the bricks, we need to start taking them down.
I'm probably going to smile this entire clip because it makes me so happy.
Being able to show Gypsy all of this stuff, it's all about culture down here.
They're making up on lost, sorry I keep pausing it, but they're making up on lost time in a way that I am doing with my dad, and that makes me so happy.
Blood, I mean, our roots go really deep here. I just wanted to give her a taste of some of this, get some blood between her toes. So the way you do it, just grab the rope, make sure the rope's not tangled. Drop it, like that.
All right.
Stand right there. I'm going to tell you when, okay? Hold on. I'll do that to everybody. You're initiated.
That's what I was going to say. I'm like, that's my initiation.
Aw. That smile on his face is so freaking genuine. That is so sweet. They're just like trying to figure out what it's like to be father and daughter again. This is really close to home for me, but it's in a good way. This is the silver lining for when you learn the truth. This is the silver lining that you can have a good relationship with your parent, that your parent's not the parent you were made to believe they are. That your parent does love you. My dad also has a boat, and we go on the boat all the time, every time I'm at his house, and so this is like so close to home for me.
Well, come up and drive. Just get right there.
Woo!
Very nice. You got it, girl. Captain Gypsy Rose. All right, let me take over.
All right, go ahead. Okay?
Okay, pull it up fast. Come on, big crowd, big crowd.
I took the base.
Took the bait. God, Gypsy, you ain't worth the crabbing, girl.
That's how my dad is. That's exactly how my dad is. This guy reminds me of my dad so much. Oh my gosh.
I think we both feel a mix of emotions Like at times, I feel like I don't always know what to say. I don't know if it's just like that comfortability level. It comes from like wanting to have a dad in my life. And I just don't want to do anything or say anything that'll screw it up.
She just described exactly how I feel with my dad. She just nailed it. I wish I could talk to her. I wish I could talk to Gypsy about that. I wonder if she even knows. Because if she did, I think it would help her understand herself and some of the things that she's done in the past more clearly. I know that she's pregnant now too, and I really hope that she can break the cycle for her child. But regardless of how you feel about Gypsy, I do think that her connecting with her dad is just so beautiful. I don't care what you think about Gypsy or Christy or Ryan or Ken. The fact that I know all these people, I've been a little bit obsessed with this Gypsy Rose case, guys, but this is heartwarming. I love this. Makes me want to see my dad, though.
Put it right here, tied to this. All right, we'll leave him there 15, 20 minutes. So I've noticed you took down a lot of your social media and everything.
Yeah, like I'm seriously considering like just deleting at least like the public ones. It's just like it doesn't mean anything for me to have a bunch of strangers comment on my life.
Yeah.
And it's not worth it either.
It's good. It's good to hear that. You can't win all those battles. Everybody's gonna have opinions, some good, some bad, but then you try to defend yourself, and then you're spending so much mental energy on stressing out about this when you don't have to.
This might not be a big deal, but I am noticing that he's not looking at her at all. It's almost as if he's having trouble making eye contact with her. It's just odd to me that he's not looking at her at all, making eye contact at all. He might just be feeling really uncomfortable and anxious, which is sad, but that's the reality of this process. That's the reality of reconnecting with your targeted parent or your alienated child, whichever side of the coin you're on.
Doesn't matter as long as you're good with your family and the people that matter.
And I don't want to go through my whole life being, Gypsy Blanchard, the girl that murdered her mother.
I don't want people to look at you like this is Gypsy Rose. She's famous for killing her mother. You shouldn't be famous for something like that.
Exactly. Yeah. I hate that F word, famous.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do I think I'm famous? No.
This is Gypsy Rose. She survived this and went through this, but, I'd rather it be like that than, she's famous.
So that's why I'm just like, I really just want to fade back.
The way she analyzed how social media was affecting her and all this negative stuff, it reflects a lot on her maturity, and I'm real proud of that. Two crowds!
Yes!
Those are tiny. Those are tiny crabs. That would be like a bite. Okay.
We're going.
Okay, it's bigger than I originally thought. I mean, but it's still not huge.
No suckers. This guitar was my dad's guitar. It's a good guitar. Sounds great. So, you can use it as long as you try to play it.
I will.
Okay, how adorable. How sweet is this? This is so sweet. Sharing parts of his history, special things to him with his daughter. This is really sweet. And it's because they haven't had the chance to have these moments until now. In a way, I think Gypsy is probably, and her dad, you're making up for lost time. So it's almost like you're starting where you left off. And you left off, I don't know how old she was, but I think she was really young. So yeah, I don't know. It's bittersweet. That's the right word.
For the first time in my life, I have an actual dad to teach me things.
This is a pick.
And I'm starting to learn his personality and get a sense of who he is as a person. He always just wants my happiness, and that's what I've learned.
My dad too. Oh, yeah, that's the same thing. And that's how you know if you have a healthy parent. If they're happy when you're happy. If they're not happy when you're happy, that's probably not a good sign.
And this 12th note.
My dad is the one that named me Gypsy Rose. I never knew that because my mom... When I heard that last night, I literally started tearing up. I was so emotional watching this because this is so beautiful. That her and my grandma had named me. And he's like, no, you're Gypsy Rose because I'm a fan of the band Guns N' Roses. And I'm like, I didn't know that.
See? See how that feels?
Yeah.
You got feeling it? You feeling it with the words?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one chord.
Oh, wow.
So one chord song.
I guess I should be on my own 2 feet at 32 years old, but in a lot of ways, for experience-wise, it's like I'm back being 12, 16 years old all over again. All right?
Good.
Oh, my God. Okay.
This feels hot.
I can relate to that. I think that that's what I was just saying, like you start where you left off when your relationship with your parent was good, before the abuse, before the alienation. And for me, I was like, 7 years old, maybe 8 years old. So when I'm with my dad now, I do feel like a younger part of me is coming out. It must sound crazy. For some reason, it's like the love for my dad being back in my heart and being comfortable around him and knowing who he is again and knowing who I am with him. It's like I'm reminded of that younger girl version of me. And I can see him through those eyes again. And it brings back that inner child, I guess. It's kind of what Gypsy seems to be describing. And part of that is probably has to do with trauma, stunting some type of development around that age.
You're around the people that you love, and if they're teaching you something, it's like a flashback to a time. So it's almost...
Wait, does she not know how to ride a bike? That's pretty sad. So her dad is literally teaching her how to ride a bike right now. And she's 32. This is talk about making up for lost time. I mean, my dad taught me to ride a bike when I was 5 years old. I bet they're so happy to be in each other's lives again. That's so sweet. She's lucky. She's lucky. A lot of people don't figure this out, and that's part of the reason why I speak out about this.
It's that I'm catching up on those memories. Ooh.
I've missed so much that it's a little hard to catch up. I just want to enjoy that, and I'm so happy to have that. So blessed now.
I got a wedgie!
Turn away your phone.
Oh, yeah, I'm
Oh, that ain't nothing, girl. Your first bike crash. It ain't gonna be your last. Don't worry about it.
So that is basically the whole scene. I know that Gypsy Rose has been a controversial figure. And I didn't really want to get into that in this video at all. But... and out of everything that is on that show, out of the whole show, I think the most beautiful part and the happiest part and the best part of the show are these little clips, these scenes of her reconnecting and reuniting with her dad. So that's the end of this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you found it helpful or insightful in some way. If you support what I'm doing here, or if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up to help the channel, reach more people, and educate them about parental alienation. I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.